Hey friend, welcome to Ask Dr. Betters. I want you to know I appreciate your questions. I appreciate especially the thoughtfulness of your questions. Clearly, when we get these questions, we sense that people are really struggling with certain difficult passages or difficult doctrines in the scripture, and that you're looking for answers. And what I try to do here is to relate your question to the appropriate scripture. Well, Jacklynn wants to know that she says, I've heard people say they don't talk to the dead, but they communicate to souls in heaven, and that they don't communicate to souls in hell. Is there really a difference? Well, let me answer it this way. To communicate with the dead at all is called necromancy in Scripture, and it's clearly forbidden. Let me read the passage to you. It's from Deuteronomy chapter 18. God is laying out clear instructions to his people as they are formulating their society. It says, when you come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those nations. Now, God doesn't usually use the word abomination or abominable unless he's really trying to drive home the evilness of whatever he's talking about. He says, there shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering. Human sacrifices, typical of the Canaanite religion. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer of one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you. In other words, he's punishing the Canaanites for these evil practices. And he's warning the Israelites not to adopt those practices for themselves. He calls them an abomination. For you shall be blameless before the Lord your God. For those nations which you are about to dispossess or take over from them their lands, they listen to fortune tellers and to diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do this. Now, what does that passage say? Communication with the dead is forbidden in Scripture. Now, I've got to tell you something. When we lost our son, Mark, there wasn't anything that I would have wanted more than to just have one more conversation with him, one more exchange of ideas. But I had to remind myself of what the scriptures have to say about that kind of communication. This particular passage in Deuteronomy came to mind. It's forbidden. It's an abomination to God. He doesn't call too many things an abomination. He just refers to them as evil or evil deeds. But when he calls something an abomination, we are to pay attention. So the magic arts, the black arts, consulting with mediums and fortune tellers and trying to communicate with the dead and crystal balls and all those other evil practices. Listen to me closely. Satan can describe himself, he can ascribe those kinds of conversations to himself. In other words, Satan has the ability to mimic what appears to be a legitimate conversation with the dead. He's masking himself in order to get you to sin this kind of an abomination to God. So there are times when people who are practicing necromancy swear by it. They say, I talked to my son, I talked to my aunt, I talked to my father. It was very clear. Well, friends, the thing is, you weren't talking to your son. You weren't talking to your family, your loved one who has gone on. You're talking to Satan. You're talking to evil spirits. And that is clear from Deuteronomy chapter 18. So avoid it. Avoid it with everything you've got inside of you, no matter how tempted you might be. Make sure you understand it is an abomination to God. Hope this helps.
Hi, my name is Melissa Weisenfels, Executive Director here at MARKINC Ministries. Thank you so very much for your continued support of this video series. Ask Dr. Betters is not meant to be a substitute for professional counseling, but instead is designed to extract biblical principles around the questions being asked. We encourage you to seek professional counseling if needed.